The East Moline plant, once alive with the clang of machinery and the steady hum of industry, now feels like a cathedral of lost purpose. The air is thick with unease, every corner echoing with memories of laughter, shouted instructions, and the rhythmic pulse of production lines, now replaced by uneasy silence. On August 26, 2025, workers who built John Deere's iconic tractors gather in anxious clusters, their faces etched with worry and disbelief, waiting for answers that no one wants to hear. The shift supervisor, usually a friendly face, now wears a mask of sorrow as he hands out envelopes, each one a layoff notice, each one a life upended. Over 100 jobs gone in an instant. The sound of zippers and boxes closing replaces the familiar din of machines. For these workers, this isn't just a paycheck lost, it's a legacy, a way of life, suddenly ripped away. The pride of generations, the stories told over family dinners, all threatened in a single morning. The layoffs aren't about performance, they're the fallout of economic forces and distant political decisions, tariffs, trade wars, and policies made far from the factory floor. The silence is heavy with questions. How will families cope? What will tomorrow bring? The uncertainty is almost suffocating. What happens to the American dream when the factory gates close and the promise of steady work fades into memory? As workers leave under the leaping Deere logo, pride turns to pain. The walk to the parking lot feels longer than ever before. Those left behind feel relief mixed with dread, knowing their own jobs are at risk. Every conversation is tinged with fear and uncertainty. This isn't just corporate restructuring, it's the unraveling of a social contract that once promised security for honest work, a bond now fraying at the edges. The shockwaves will echo far beyond these factory walls, reshaping entire communities and leaving scars that may never fully heal. The recent 200-plus job cuts at John Deere are just the latest in a relentless wave. Since April 2024, more than 2,000 jobs have disappeared from Deere's operations nationwide. In East Moline alone, 650 workers have been let go, while Waterloo has seen over 800 layoffs. Moline's numbers are close behind, with 400 jobs lost in just 3 months. These aren't just numbers, they're families facing crisis, communities losing their backbone. The layoffs stretch from East Moline to Waterloo, Iowa, each pink slip a story of upheaval. Deere blames a struggling farm economy, weak demand, and the uncertainty of trade wars. Farmers, squeezed by low prices and high costs, are holding off on big purchases. Fewer orders mean fewer jobs, simple, brutal math. The fate of these workers is tied to global markets and political decisions far beyond their control. When farmers suffer, so do the companies that supply them, and the pain flows straight to the assembly line. This is not a blip, it's a sign of deep systemic trouble in American manufacturing. Mike, a 17-year veteran at the East Moline plant, says, "I never thought I'd be packing up my locker. My kids grew up on my John Deere paycheck." Sarah, who lost her job in Waterloo, adds, "It's not just work, it's our lives, our community. We're all scared for what comes next." As unemployment claims spike and local food banks see record demand, the human cost of these layoffs becomes painfully clear. For thousands, the future is uncertain, and the ripple effects are only just beginning. John Deere faces a perfect storm, weak farm profits and punishing tariffs. Farmers, hit by low crop prices and rising costs, are slashing equipment purchases. A new combine can cost over $500,000, an impossible leap when the future is uncertain. Tariffs have hit Deere hard, adding $500 million in extra costs in 2025 alone. These tariffs raise the price of steel and other materials, forcing Deere to increase equipment prices. Higher prices make Deere's tractors and combines less competitive abroad. For example, a dealer in Brazil says, "We've seen a 20% drop in U.S. equipment orders since tariffs began." Customers overseas are turning to cheaper alternatives from Europe and Asia, while U.S. farmers delay purchases, hoping for relief. According to industry analyst Sarah Kim, tariffs have created a ripple effect. Uncertainty slows sales, and factories are forced to cut back. Deere is squeezed from both sides: higher costs, fewer sales, and shrinking global demand. The result? Factories go quiet, and livelihoods disappear. Deere's financials tell a grim story, and the numbers are even starker than they appear at first glance. Third quarter profits plunged to $1.29 billion, down nearly $500 million from last year. Revenue fell to $10.3 billion, missing Wall Street expectations by over $200 million. Sales dropped 9%, forcing the company to slash its annual outlook. Analysts warn that continued weak demand for agricultural equipment could push sales down another 5% next year. Deere plans a $20 billion investment in U.S. operations over the next decade, hoping to modernize and innovate. But experts like Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas caution that such investments may not pay off if global demand remains sluggish. For workers facing layoffs, a 10-year plan offers little comfort. Industry consultant Sarah Miller notes that automation and restructuring could mean permanent job losses, not just temporary cuts. Tariffs drive up costs, weak demand drives down revenue, a toxic mix for any manufacturer. Deere's operating margin shrank to 12%, its lowest in 5 years. The fastest way to cut costs? Layoffs. Over 1,000 jobs have already been eliminated this year, with more expected if conditions don't improve. Each financial report and pink slip are two sides of the same crisis. Experts warn that continued cost-cutting could erode Deere's skilled workforce and damage long-term competitiveness. Deere is under siege, forced to make painful choices just to survive. Industry analysts say the company's future hinges on its ability to adapt to a rapidly changing global market. The future for its workers grows dimmer with every quarter, and the broader implications for the company and the communities that depend on it are only beginning to unfold. John Deere's crisis has become a fierce political battleground, drawing sharp lines within the Republican Party. Former President Trump threatens 200% tariffs if Deere moves jobs to Mexico, vowing to protect American workers and bring manufacturing back home. But critics, including Mike Pence, warn these tariffs backfire, costing Deere $200 million in a single quarter and raising prices for everyone. A 200% tariff could violate trade agreements and spark a trade war, hurting farmers and manufacturers alike. The GOP is deeply divided. On one side, populist Republicans echo Trump's call for aggressive tariffs, arguing that tough trade policies are the only way to protect American jobs and industries from unfair foreign competition. On the other, pro-business conservatives and free trade advocates warn that tariffs are a tax on American consumers and businesses. They argue that open markets and global supply chains are vital for U.S. economic growth, and that protectionism risks isolating America and driving up costs. Meanwhile, Deere and its workers are caught in the crossfire, uncertain about the future, as politicians argue over policy. Political posturing offers little relief to those losing their jobs, as both sides dig in on their positions. The debate rages on, with the real impact felt on factory floors and in rural communities across America. The stakes are high and the consequences are painfully real for workers, families, and entire towns. The ripple effect of John Deere's layoffs extends far beyond the factory floor, but the story doesn't end in despair. Local businesses that once thrived on the patronage of factory workers are now struggling to stay afloat, yet many are banding together, launching community markets and pop-up shops to keep their towns alive. Schools and community services face budget cuts as tax revenues decline, but teachers and volunteers are stepping up, creating after-school programs and food drives to support families in need. The economic heartbeats of entire towns are slowing, leaving families in uncertainty and hardship. Still, neighbors are checking in on each other, sharing resources, and building support networks. But amid the gloom, there are glimmers of hope. Stories of resilience and determination are emerging every day. Economic recovery strategies are being explored, with local leaders and business owners brainstorming creative solutions to spark new growth. Community colleges and vocational schools are ramping up retraining programs, aiming to equip laid-off workers with new skills for emerging industries. Many former factory workers are embracing these opportunities, learning advanced manufacturing techniques and digital skills. Local governments are providing incentives for small businesses and startups, fostering innovation and entrepreneurship in hard-hit areas. Some laid-off workers are even launching their own ventures, turning adversity into opportunity. Federal initiatives are also in the mix, with proposals for infrastructure projects that could create new jobs and stimulate local economies. Manufacturing companies are pivoting, taking on new contracts and diversifying their production lines. There's talk of expanding broadband access to rural areas, potentially opening up new opportunities for remote work and digital enterprises. Some manufacturers are adopting smart technology, connecting their operations to global markets. While the road to recovery is long and fraught with challenges, the resilience of American workers and communities shines through. In the manufacturing sector, teams are retooling, retraining, and refusing to give up. Together they are not just waiting for change, they are actively forging a path forward, determined to rebuild and thrive once more. Stories of adaptation and innovation are becoming the new normal. The story of John Deere's crisis is far from over. It is a testament to the strength and perseverance of those who refuse to let economic turmoil define their future. In the face of adversity, they are finding ways to adapt, innovate, and ultimately, recover, proving that hope and determination can drive a new era of resilience in American manufacturing. As the dust settles on this chapter of American manufacturing, several key lessons come into sharp focus. The John Deere layoffs and their ripple effects underscore just how interconnected our economy truly is. Job losses in one factory can echo through entire communities, affecting small businesses, schools, and families. The crisis has revealed vulnerabilities, from reliance on global supply chains to the unpredictable impact of tariffs and trade disputes. But it has also highlighted the power of adaptability and innovation. Communities are investing in retraining, small businesses are finding new niches, and workers are proving their resilience. The lesson is clear: surviving and thriving in the new manufacturing landscape will require flexibility, collaboration, and a willingness to embrace change. Looking ahead, the future of American manufacturing is not set in stone. It will be shaped by policy decisions, technological advances, and the spirit of the people at its core. Whether it's through smarter trade policies, investment in education, or a renewed commitment to homegrown industry, the path forward is still being written. One thing is certain: the story of American manufacturing is far from over. With determination and vision, the next chapter could be one of resurgence, innovation, and shared prosperity for all. Deere's layoffs are part of a larger crisis shaking U.S. manufacturing. Stellantis, Mack Trucks, even Nintendo, major employers are slashing jobs or delaying plans, all citing trade turmoil and market instability. The pain is widespread, from auto plants in Indiana to truck factories in Pennsylvania. CEOs are bracing for more inflation and more layoffs, with 37% expecting to cut jobs in 2025. Tariffs and uncertainty are driving up costs and driving down demand everywhere. The promise of protecting American jobs is colliding with harsh economic reality. These layoffs aren't isolated. They're the human cost of global trade wars and shifting policies. Workers, families, and entire towns are caught in the squeeze. America stands at a crossroads: double down on economic nationalism, or find a new path forward. The future of U.S. manufacturing and the American dream hangs in the balance.